one chair this way. Okay. Oh, sorry about that. In just a moment from now, we're going to have a live link where you're going to be able to hear from the man of the moment, Dr. Somnath. You've seen him on television. You saw him this morning with the Prime Minister and his incredible team in Bengaluru as well. Dr. Singh was also there. And so as soon as we get him in, we're going to be able to ask him some questions. It's been a truly, truly memorable day. Dr. Singh, while we're waiting, I'd like to start with you because you were there. You know, we saw it on TV. You were there. The emotions, the fervor, the tears. What was it like seeing our scientists felicitated in the manner that they were this morning? And relive that moment for us for a moment, sir.
No, I think because Honorable Prime Minister Shri Modi has a natural connect with the scientific fraternity. Also because he has a natural temper for science. And I think never before the scientific community has felt so enabled before, because we had the talent, we had the potential, we had the capabilities, we had the capacity to work hard. You would recall the pictures of Sarabhai carrying launcher on the carriage of his bicycle. But I think what was lacking was at the level of the policy planners, at the level of the leadership of the day, the kind of enabling milieu which was required for the scientist to put in his best or her best. That has happened in the recent few years, particularly in the last 4 or 5 years after Prime Minister Modi unlocked the gates of Sriharikota. Now you would recall on the 14th of July, when the launching of this mission happened, Chandrayaan 3, we had more than about 1,000 media persons. Now this was a place which was forbidden even for peeping inside the gates of the launching station. We had boys and girls from colleges, schools, we had members of society, we had people from all over India there to work. And that is also resulted in a feeling of belonging, the manner in which the whole nation was. Also, we, on the one hand, I think Prime Minister's support has been at two levels primarily. One, of course, the moral support, which you saw happening when Chandrayaan 2 did not go the way it went and he was there, which you saw today also. And he said that my mind, my heart was here, although I was there. And second, at the level of the support otherwise, the funding, the kind of freedom to work. We were working in a kind of, we had a wheel of secrecy, I don't know for what reason, that was thrown open to the private participation. Within 3-4 years, we have more than 150 private startups working in collaboration with Sriharikota, some of them world-class startups. Many of them have turned into lucrative entrepreneurs. Now we have the National Research Foundation Anusandhan policy brought in just in the last session of the Parliament, which will be even more enabling, which will give room to about 60-70% of the participation from non-government sources. So I think if you have to play a global role, if you have to live up to the global parameters, if you have to meet the global challenges, and if you have to establish ourselves as a global leader, a global player, we would have to follow the global strategies and the global work style, which was not happening before Prime Minister Modi came in. And now, I think the demarcation with the public and the private has to go away. The industry has to be an equal stakeholder. The era of working in silos is over. A more synergized and integrated approach is what is required. And I think this has done wonders in just 3-4 years in the last, ever since a new policy came in.
In just a moment, I'm going to play out the highlights of what the Prime Minister announced today. I'm sure many of you have already heard the big announcements, but it's different listening to the Prime Minister actually say them, because like the Minister just said, there is a personal connect, there is an emotion involved when the Prime Minister is there in person, and he made it a point, Dr. Singh, to be there in person. Because we all remember...
And a huge gesture, Shiv. Yes. Even before he landed in the national capital, he was there.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. From Greece, he flew straight to Bengaluru, which was a gesture. I was in Bengaluru, Dr. Singh, in 2019 during Chandrayaan 2. And I remember the emotion and the pain. I will never say that any space mission can be called a failure because of the huge number of learnings from Chandrayaan 2 that have fueled Chandrayaan 3. It is because of Chandrayaan 2's learnings and lessons that Chandrayaan 3 has actually been a success. But how you've interacted with those same persons who were there then and now, sir.
Yeah.
How have they taken you know, that sense of loss, that sense of pain, and converted it into this global success.
Yeah, to add to what you are saying, actually, it's never unsuccessful. Rather, on the contrary, even if you see statistically, our record is much better compared to several other countries who have actually started out much earlier than us, be it the United States of America, be it the then Soviet Union. For example, most of their missions, and all these gentlemen from the space fraternity would bear me out, have not been successful in first 2-3 attempts. The US has made more than 4 or 5 attempts in certain cases before getting a safe or a successful landing. So the landing did happen even in case Chandrayaan 2. Yes. That's why Chandrayaan 2 was there to welcome Chandrayaan 3 and send out a signal, hi buddy, welcome. So what has happened, it did end up to the same logic culmination as we had envisaged. So that was one thing. Now, learning from that experience, the design was changed, the structure was different, even the software was made more precise. So much of hard work has gone, which is just unimaginable. Artificial dummy moons were created, it was practiced. And that's why those of us who were closely associated with the mission or had been watching were more nervous on certain occasions, like for example when Chandrayaan suddenly comes down from about 300 kilometer downwards, then the speed goes down from 6,000 kilometer per hour to just over 200 odd kilometers.
Nobody was breathing at that time.
And towards 150 or 50 meters, then it's left to the wisdom of Vikram. Yeah. Because we have no contact. Then that is the actual test. How well we have trained this boy. You know, just when you send a soldier to the front and, you know, then it is up to him to take the precise decision. So there it is to decide on its own within that small radius where exactly it should be landing. But fortunately, and I think that also speaks volumes about all these gentlemen, it didn't take even a moment. It just landed where it had to, where it was heading for. It didn't even have to change. The signals were so precise, so smooth. In fact, it happened a few moments, a few seconds, a few minutes earlier than it was expected to happen.
It's truly a privilege to have you here on a day like this when the nation has honored, you know, through the Prime Minister, the heroes of ISRO. To have all of you here at this BT India at 100 event is a privilege and an honor for us. You were talking about the landing, Dr. Singh. All of us in the media reported those 15 minutes of terror, the kind of trust you have to place in the lander itself. I've just gotten a signal that we have Dr. Somnath, the chief of ISRO, the man of the moment, one of the most humble people you'll ever meet, because he is someone who never takes the credit. He always points at his team. You're not going to be able to see him here, but he is going to be live and you're going to be able to hear him. First of all, a big round of applause for Dr. Somnath.
And before you connect him, Shiv, I would just like to clarify before the audience, he was keen to be here. I mean, he's been in touch with me. He couldn't, because all of them are busy monitoring the entire mission. So they can't be leaving the monitoring station. So that's a very good reason for him not to be here.
So, yeah, so when he says he's busy, he really, really means it. So the Chandrayaan 3 mission has a window of 14 days, small amount of time, and they have the pressure and expectations of space agencies across the world, I imagine.
Absolutely.
Singh,
also because
who are going to be
the inferences which are going to be obtained by Chandrayaan 3 are going to be eye-opener even for the rest of the world, because this is a new area which is unexplored, hitherto the virgin area of the South Pole. B, even though Americans landed a human being way back, 1969, Neil Armstrong, but it was Chandrayaan series which brought back the evidence of the presence of water molecules. So that makes it even more interesting, and even that finding was an eye-opener for the rest of the world, because it gives you a direct or an indirect indication of the possibility or complete or whole or less possibility of the human habitat being there or even life. So it makes it all the more interesting.
Dr. Singh, one of the wonderful images from today's ceremony at the ISRO was the Prime Minister and Dr. Somnath with the amazing community of women scientists of ISRO. They've become such a huge inspiration and an eye-opener for people across the country. I am from the South. I am aware about how ISRO has a large community of women scientists. For many people, this was completely new and an eye-opener, sir.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have a huge presence of women scientists in most of our mission teams, even in the forthcoming Gaganyaan team. But I don't know whether you notice, Shiv, when Somnath ji was referring to Prime Minister's connect with the scientific fraternity, the Prime Minister's expression when he came, he had the presence of mind to say that I was impatient to meet you all, that's why I've come straight here, but my impatience might have caused inconvenience to you because I'm disturbing you early morning. So look here, the presence of mind of a person. He was so much consumed of his own, urge to meet the scientific fraternity there, but at the same time, he was conscious enough, had the presence of mind enough to also realize if possibly they might have undergone the inconvenience of rising up early morning. So I think that makes the connect between Prime Minister and every section of society, for that matter, in case the scientific fraternity, very spontaneous, very natural.
Dr. Singh, and I'll go to the scientists as well after this, is that, sir, this is not just national pressure on ISRO, this is global pressure. India is the first country in the world to land a spacecraft in the south pole of the moon, which means whether it is NASA, whether it is the European Space Agency, whether it is any other space agency, they are all counting on what Dr. Somnath and his team are going to do over the next 12, 13 days, sir.
Absolutely, Shiv. Because the terrain is unexplored, the kind of conclusions and inferences that are going to be obtained will be also for the first time be available to all the space agencies, including NASA, and see the manner in which this mission has been planned. There's going to be a wide range of experimentation and information gathering. For example, last time it discovered the presence of water molecules, it now would like to go further. And in the South Polar area, you also expect some craters, some water, ice, particles, etc. So presence of oxygen, presence of hydrogen, etc. Then the atmospheric studies, the plasma, ion and electron, the ionic atmosphere. At the third level, it might go in for the soil elements, the magnesium, calcium, potassium, the presence, not presence, quantity of presence. And fourth level, it might go in for the seismicity, the moonquakes, the vulnerability. Then it might also go in for the in situ studies. Then also the possibilities of petroleum, sources. So it's going to be a wide range of experiments which are going to gather inferences which might have a bearing for human beings on the earth as well. So I think it's going to be not only interesting, it's also going to unfold many mysteries of the universe. As I said, when Chandrayaan brought back the evidence of the water molecules being there, I think that was the first time the mankind was inspired to find scientific answers to those poetic imageries and the poetic fantasies of people living there, and which was a subject of literature, cinema, etc. The first time there was a motivation, look here, we could find scientific answers to that.
Every time there is a big rocket launch or a space mission, you see the rocket launch, from Sriharikota, the Satish Dhawan Space Center. You see the beautiful images of the rocket. You very rarely or very briefly see the people behind the mission. This time things have been different. There has been a personal touch. You've seen the faces of the scientists. You're seeing them right now here at the BT India at 100 event. And we've invited these scientists also.
And before you go to them, Shiv, I would just like to put on record the appreciation and acknowledgement of Prime Minister Modi in making this happen. It has been possible, these friends here, because Prime Minister brought us out from that wheel of secrecy.
It's incredible.
I think the work culture which is followed in ISRO is a kind of a role model for all professional groups. It's a perfect blend of Indian tradition and the most modern, updated scientific practice. After every launch, there is an SOP which is gone from generation to generation. They pay obeisance at Tirupati at the beginning of the session, then afterwards, after the successful culmination. And the unwinding part. Soon after the official announcement is made of the mission having been successful, they distribute a laddu, a Tirupati laddu. So that is their unwinding club. So and the other part of it is that nobody superannuates in ISRO. If you see the picture, you'll find all the former chairmen also sitting there, or the retired scientists. So they adopt a mission as a life's mission. So they don't dissociate themselves even when they are officially no longer there. And with the Prime Minister having brought in the changes that have been there in the last 4 or 5 years, I agree with you, as you said in the beginning, there's been a quantum jump. And you said they are very busy now with Aditya and Gaganyaan. They're going to be all the more busy because so many of the private missions also lined up now. And as far as the space economy is concerned, we were just 1 billion space economy right now. We hope to be 40 billion by 2040. And the projection yesterday only, I think 2 days back, the ARL projection, the other projection, even predicted that we could achieve 100 billion, the manner in which at the pace at which we have started moving after the unlocking of the space sector by Prime Minister Modi. So I think they're going to be very, very busy for good reasons and going to contribute to the economy of India in future.